It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Okay, so the mashed potatoes go up there, and the turkey goes over here, and the rest of the stuffing goes in.
What are you doing?
Oh, hi. I'm putting away
Oh my God. We don't have that many leftovers. We don't have room for that many leftovers.
Yes, we do. I made room. See?
Yeah, what do? You use a shrink ray or something?
No, I just...
50,000 different Tupperware containers in the fridge?
Well, no, I just kind of greased the walls of the fridge. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it won't hurt anything. We don't need all that butter anyway.
You don't even eat turkey. That's all mine.
I know it's all yours. That's why I wanted to save it. Because we have to make more room.
Yes, we do, because we have another feast to go to.
Say what?
Yeah. This whole week is all about feasts. Our final week of food week, because we missed one, and we had a week of older stuff. So
oh, yeah.
Now we have a big feast to go to. Although the timing's not quite right. And we have a whole bunch of other things to feast on, too, including superheroes and weird little people in the Midwest and a few other things.
And skeletons.
And skeletons.
And monkeys that breathe fire.
All this week, right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stick around. We're coming at ya.
For this week's Subject Cinema.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's Subject Cinema. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're going to bring to you all these different types of movies that are showing now at the bottom of your screen, talking about food and culture and superheroes and billboards and...
And what the hell are you doing?
I'm doing my Bob Ross imitation. Super smooth, super sweet.
We have Ryan Reynolds to do that. Shoo.
We have...
Poof, be gone.
But I want to use the Falto Blue. I love that Falto Blue stuff. We're going to make happy little trees on happy little movies.
I'll
okay,
happy
fine.
little trees you.
Since we saw each other last, I actually watched a Bob Ross marathon on Create TV a couple weeks ago. It was really
and
fun.
somehow did not slip into
I
a coma.
love Bob Ross. I find him fascinating.
I realized Bob Ross is a really amazing artist and obviously a very nice person because I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him. But man, if you have insomnia and you can't sleep, you know.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
This is Subject Cinema number 590, day and date, November 26, 2017. Apologize for being away the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It's kind of crazy.
Go ahead.
What?
Apologize for being away the last 2 weeks.
I'm sorry we've been away the last 2 weeks.
Because she was
my
sick.
Fault. It was my fault.
It's all her fault. Yeah. Always her fault. Everything's her fault. The elections were her fault. No, not really.
Oh, no, they weren't. I'm not taking any blame for that one. Oh, hell
no. I'm not talking about city council elections.
Hell no, I'm not taking any
Okay,
blame for that one.
anyway, let's get away from that right now. This is our final week of food stuff. We're sorry we missed last week. We hope you caught our dessert show on Front Row 5 and 10. And the previous week, we ran a whole bunch of great reviews that we've done before on food-related movies, documentaries. We hope you had time to check them all out. Want to remind you, when you're listening to Subject Cinema, do not forget to subscribe to the show, no matter which service you're listening to us on, iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud or YouTube, wherever you're listening to us. Always make sure you subscribe. Always make sure that you share the link to our show with your friends on Twitter and Facebook, and always like it. So we have likes to say, they can say, you like us, you really like us.
And if you know where that came from,
you're old.
I didn't want to say it.
Food stuff this week, but first, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was fine. You know, I thought it was really enjoyable.
The Macy's Parade introduced us to the first song from the new SpongeBob SquarePants musical on Broadway, which actually was really good.
It was.
It's got me interested in seeing it because we're SpongeBob fans anyway. So
I thought the whole idea of a SpongeBob musical, I was like, that's it. We've hit
it. Yeah,
we've hit the end times. But then we saw the actual number and the way they're going to do the SpongeBob musical with the costumes and the way it's going to be done. And I have to admit, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it looks like it might be pretty good.
Intrigued.
It starts previews next week.
I'm slightly more terrified by something that wasn't on the Macy's Parade, but that you did tell me about, and I did see some stuff online about the musical based on King Kong.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, fine. Then
that's coming September of next year.
So I'm assuming that Godzilla the ballet will be out in 2020.
Oh, that's just that's 7 degrees of wrong right there.
And Mothra and Shadow Puppets will be out in 2022 or something like that.
Well, the King Kong Broadway show is based on the Peter Jackson version of the movie. So
this is going to be really interesting. But Thanksgiving was good. I thought the parade was actually quite nice. Usually I get incredibly bored with the parade because we all know I have the attention span of your average house plant.
So we figured out how to combat that boredom about 2 years ago. We DVR it and then fast scan through everything we don't want to see.
We cheat. Hooray!
I didn't know half the celebrities on the float singing this year.
Me neither.
I knew a couple of the country stars. I had never heard of some of these people. Usually I keep up on that too. I feel so old. They did have Angelica Hale from America's Got Talent, who was in second place last year.
Yes, and was really amazing. Beautiful singer singing "This Girl Is on Fire."
Mm-hmm. Except she didn't stop singing when she was supposed to.
Well,
so she kind of was carrying it on a cappella
as moving
out of shot. But
and still singing amazing.
Yes,
she's
she is. She's an amazing
singer.
Although
I do have to say one thing.
For 9, she's an amazing singer.
One thing that I'm like, okay, this is different. I haven't been paying attention over the last few years. So I don't know if this has been an ongoing thing, but when they have the bands come in from all over the country, which is fantastic and amazing, and kudos, as a former band geek, kudos to you guys that made it to Macy's. You're awesome. But now it's just not enough to go down the street and march with your little, sousaphone or whatever. Right. Now you have to march and dance and do all these other things, and I'm just like...
You were blown away by the fact that they were running.
Yes.
Running into place so they could take their place in front of the NBC cameras.
Well, but they're not only running, they're playing their instruments. If I had tried to...
Yeah, but they're running while they're doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're not marching fast, they're running.
Yeah. If I had to run carrying my clarinet, I would have impaled myself.
And then you could have played it at your navel.
This is why I wasn't in marching band. Concert band geek only. But seriously, major kudos to all you kids. You did a fantastic, amazing job. And we had a lot of dancing. There was like a crap ton of dancing this year on Macy's.
Most of it Up With People style.
Yeah, it's like
dancing.
Up With People dancing kind of...
And for those of you who know what Up With People is,
you're old.
You're old.
I mean, it was really good dancing, but they're so very cheerful. I mean, it's like Disturbing levels cheerful. It's like Stepford Wife level cheerful. It's like, it just freaks me out. And of course, the end of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is always the first time we see that jolly man in red, Santa Claus, which is the traditional kickoff of the holiday season, which is always awesome. And
they're
great.
getting better at it, too. This year, for the last few years, Boston has had one and maybe two stations that start playing Christmas music the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
This year, that didn't happen.
No.
It only started on Monday, last Monday. And that's because people wrote and said, knock it off.
Yeah. Actually, people said knock it the beep off.
Probably.
But,
Up here in Boston, yeah, they probably did, especially if they were from Southie. It's like...
we love you, Southie. Don't ever shame us.
But it's nice.
Yeah.
And the only bad thing about Christmas music these days is there's, you can only hear the same 80 songs over and over again, and yet radio just refuses to find new contemporary hits they can play every year. I can't remember the last song that actually became a perennial. I think it was Christmas Shoes, and that's been 17 years ago. So there's been good God, can we find some new good stuff, please, and work it in?
And it just also irritates. Well, this is something that irritates the both of us. I think I'm not being unfair to say it irritates the both of us. When songs that we remember from teenage years and stuff like that were actual songs wind up getting used in radio spots or television commercials or things. I have a saying, another song ruined for capitalism.
Which she's really been saying a lot about the new Subaru commercials using the music from Star Wars.
Yes. No, that's just me sitting there quietly steaming, grinding my teeth.
Oh, you're not quietly steaming at all. Not to me. I'm in your head 24/7, remember?
Yes. Well, yes.
To me, it sounds like a grating scream.
Yes. I was going to say you're hearing the shrieking and swearing and bad language and stuff like that. But no, I think Thanksgiving was really nice. We went to my sister's and, hung out with my family and stuff like that. We met their new dog. They have a new dog. My sister has a new dog. He's, what did they say he was? I forgot.
What?
What kind of dog? I forgot. Havanese.
Havanese.
He's a Havanese dog. His name is Buddy. And he's super duper cute.
Yeah. It's a bit bitey at times.
He gets a little bitey when he's excited.
Yeah.
But that's probably our fault because we were, playing with him like crazy, playing fetch with him. Because it's fun playing fetch with a dog when they're on a wood floor. That's just fun. Watching them try and get traction. That's hilarious.
All right. Enough about Thanksgiving. We hope you had a wonderful holiday, and we hope you'll join us as we continue our final foray into food. And let's start off with this week's appetizer. I first started watching cooking shows when I was a kid. I mean, I remember watching The French Chef when I was in grade school. My mom loved The Galloping Gourmet. And in the 1980s, they started to proliferate on Saturday afternoons, and now it's become a tradition all over the country on PBS stations.
Right.
But there is no show that captured my attention or my devotion than in January of 2000, when the editors of Cook's Illustrated magazine introduced America's Test Kitchen to the world. America's Test Kitchen debuted in January of 2000, hosted by Christopher Kimball, associated then with chefs Julia Colin Davidson, Bridget Lancaster, Kay Rentschler was on the first season, and also Jack Bishop doing taste tests, I've forgotten his last name. Adam Reed doing the equipment, and more recently Lisa McManus doing gadget reviews.
Gadgets.
They've also been joined over recent years more frequently by Becky Hayes. Ted's Kitchen is just the kind of show that is a blast to watch because it's informative, and as the years have gotten on in it, and of course this last year they had a huge upheaval we'll talk about in a second, they have gotten more and more funny. They enjoy working with each other. You can tell that. You can tell it on camera. And it's just been a joy. Even you enjoy sitting there watching Test Kitchen.
I do.
And its spin-off Cook's Country with you.
I do.
We both watch both of them all the time.
Sometimes I don't watch cooking shows as much as TC
Oh,
does.
I watch them constantly. I'll sit when there's something on TV, I've got On Demand running, Pioneer Woman or Barefoot Contessa or something.
Part of the reason that I sometimes don't watch cooking shows is because they have things on that I don't like. They have things on that I know I can't eat.
Right.
Like rosemary,
Yeah.
I'm allergic. And there's other things I like, if something's on with asparagus, I just leave the room. And
that has to do with daddy issues.
And
anyway.
there's the simple fact that sometimes when they cook things on cooking shows, they cook things that aren't dead yet.
You've seen that more than any place on Iron Chef, though.
And I am not a fast person. Just look at me. I mean, body type, I am not built for speed.
No.
Stamina, yes. Speed, no. But if you show somebody how to prepare a lobster and all that stuff, I will do a runner faster than Usain Bolt. I will be gone from that room faster than you have ever seen, because I'm like...
When has Test Kitchen ever done lobster?
Well, I'm just saying cooking shows in general, you know?
We're talking about Test Kitchen.
Well, they've talked about lobster and stuff like that. They've never shown anybody killing a lobster on camera, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But Cook's Country is one of the shows that I do enjoy, because it's very...
it's laid back with more of a country feel to the recipes than Test Kitchen, which is actually more of the upscale stuff. And they're both great shows. This last year, though, they underwent a massive upheaval when Christopher Kimball was ousted as the president of Cooks Illustrated because he was already working on another company thing that he was doing for himself, and they found out and didn't like it. Chris has a new show on called Christopher Kimball's Milk Street. It's his new thing. But what they did is they kicked Julia and Bridget up to host/cooks, added a few new cooks with them, and the results have been absolutely brilliant. I mean, Bridget and Julia have been working together for over 20 years now, I think, total, before the TV show started. And their chemistry is hysterical. This year, one of the shows that they did, they spent the entire show doing sticky buns. And the end of it is a riot. Bridget just takes over the show and just keeps finding excuses to stick another piece of the sticky bun in her mouth. Julia's standing there completely convulsing. It's a great thing.
You really don't need an excuse to eat sticky
buns.
No,
you don't.
Really.
But that's the kind of thing that their chemistry comes through in that, and they're doing it now with Cook's Country, who has its season premiere in the fall, and they're also doing that together without Christopher, and they've done terrific. I can't wait till next month when the new season, the 20th anniversary season of Test Kitchen. No, is that right? No, that's still coming up a couple years later. But they're in their 18th season starting in January, and a lot of great stuff, no doubt, coming for them. You can usually find Test Kitchen in endless reruns. On many PBS stations across the country. You can see Test Kitchen reruns of Test Kitchen and Cook's Country from the past season or two on WGBH PBS Create, which is available on about 57% of the country right now. And you can also see them on Amazon.com, although they are $1.99 for the season.
Yeah.
Or per episode or something like that.
If you're of the mind to check out what Christopher Kimball has done since going on from America's Test Kitchen, you can check out Milk Street, which is his new show.
His new show. It's coming together slowly. Like Test Kitchen, it took Bridget and Julia a few weeks to feel comfortable doing this on their own. And he's doing the same thing with his new staff over at Milk Street with a completely new company and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to take a while to get used to that. But that's not neither here nor there.
Right.
Chris left.
Yeah.
He left Test Kitchen.
The neat thing about Test Kitchen is that's one of the few places we can actually say we've been there.
We've been there. We've had the pleasure of meeting Julia Collin Davison, who is just an absolute riot in person.
Yeah.
Julia of the Funky Shoes.
Very funky shoes.
We actually referred to her that way when we did the America's Test Cinema segment a few years ago. We were changing the format. And Christopher Kimball, I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times. He actually taught a class I went to a few years ago. I've never met Bridget, although I've seen her. She was in Williams-Sonoma a couple of times. When I was in there shopping. She was in there shopping too. And I was too busy, or other people were monopolizing her time, and I didn't want to bother her because she's really cool too. All the rest of them, it's just, they make a great team, and some of the stuff is just hysterical. So if you've never seen it, I can't imagine you haven't. America's Test Kitchen and Cook's Country from Cook's Illustrated magazine. Check your PBS station for time and channel, or check it out on Amazon.com.
It's you. You're gonna get me in trouble, Dante. Someone could hear me. I wish someone wanted to hear me. Other than you. Okay. I know I'm not supposed to love music.
No music. No music.
It was released in Mexico just a week before the annual Day of the Dead celebration and has now become the #1 grossing film of all time in that country. The question is, can it charm American audiences? It's the latest film from Disney Pixar. Give us the rundown on Coco.
Coco is the story of the Rivera family who live in Mexico. It is the story of the family all the way back from the story of the matriarch of the family, a woman named Imelda, who was married, and she and her husband had a little girl named Coco. The thing is, her husband was a musician and wound up leaving the family to go and pursue a career in music. This broke Imelda's heart, but she had to try and make a living because she had a child to support. So she became a shoemaker, and that became the family business. Their family has been involved in shoemaking ever since, going all the way down through generation after generation. And now we're at the current generation, which is involving 12-year-old Miguel. So the family is all about making shoes and not about making music. Because of what happened with matriarch Imelda back in the day, music is banned from their lives. And that's become a real sticking point with young Miguel, who is a very talented musician, plays guitar really amazingly well, and wants to follow in the footsteps of the local celebrity, a man named Ernesto de la Cruz, who was from the area back in the day, left, became an enormous singing sensation, and was killed in a Bell-related accident, don't ask, in the 40s. The problem is that at the time that we're seeing Coco, the upcoming Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is approaching, and everyone's getting ready to celebrate that. Miguel isn't really into that so much as he's into the idea of performing at a local talent show, which his family is all about him not doing. He winds up in a local cemetery. Now, the way that they have the Day of the Dead celebrations, for those of you who don't, get it, it's a celebration in the Latino culture. It's a day of offering food as a form of, offering to family members that have passed on. It's about putting their pictures up on the family altar, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And the people talk about the pictures on the altar and talk about the their family memories and stuff like that. It's about keeping family and tradition alive, which right now Miguel is not all about that. He breaks into the cemetery where Ernesto's crypt is and winds up playing a little bit on Ernesto's guitar, which winds up causing all kinds of problems because Miguel and his street dog friend Dante are transported to the land of the dead. Now, I know that might sound scary for people who, aren't members of the Latino culture, but it's not something horrible and George Romero-ish or anything like that. It's where people go when they leave this plane of existence and go somewhere else. The whole thing of the Day of the Dead is that's the one day out of the year that people are supposed to be able to come back and visit with their family. Now, obviously, the people on this side of the veil can't see people, but, there's this whole other metropolis that Miguel now finds himself part of. And he finds his family that has passed on, all of his relatives that have passed on, and it's actually very sweet. But his whole thing is that he wants to find Ernesto, who he's convinced he has a familial tie with. He is convinced that Ernesto is his great-grandfather. Is there one more great in there? I'm genetics are not my
great-grandfather.
Right. Genetics are not my strong suit, I'm sorry. And thus begins an amazing, twisting journey of love and music and passion and what's important, and above all and above everything else, family.
With Anthony Gonzalez as Miguel, Gail Garcia Bernal as Hector, Benjamin Bratt as Ernesto de la Cruz, Antonio Sol as the singing voice for de la Cruz, except for Remember Me, Alana Ubach as Mama Imelda, Renee Victor as Abuelita Elena, forgive me if I get these wrong, Ana Ofelia Morgula as Mama Coco, Edward James Olmos as Chicaron, Alfonso Aru as Papa Julio, Celine Luna as Tia Rosita, Diane Ortelli as Tia Victoria, Herbert Siguenza as Tio Felipe and Tio Oscar, twin brothers, Jamie Camel as Papa Enrique, Sofia Espinosa as Mama Luisa, Carla Medina as Tia Gloria, Roberto Donati as Papa Franco, Luis Valdez as Tio Berto, Polo Rojas as Abel Riviera, Montse Hernandez as Rosa, Lombardo Boyer as a mariachi that he befriends, plus special guest appearances by Cheech Marin, Gabriel Iglesias, Octavio Solis, and Natalia Cordova Buckley as the voice of artist Frida Kahlo. So what did you think? Excuse my name dropping there.
We both
came up with a new phrase.
Yeah.
We think Pixar should use this now officially for their marketing campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
See a Pixar film, bawl your eyes out.
Yeah. If you guys use that, we want credit and we want money. Anyway, we saw the trailer for Coco, about 4 months ago?
Oh, no, it started way back in March.
Okay, was it been that?
Yeah.
All right. And we both sat there and we're like, oh boy. We both sat there, we both have lumps in our throats, we both have tears in our eyes, and it's like, oh boy. And then we saw Coco, and I'm
glad you weren't hormonal when we saw Coco. Let's put it that way.
This is just a personal thing. This is just a me thing. I don't wear makeup simply because I don't. Because there's no point.
That's not true.
I'm beyond the point of no return.
Will
and
you
there ain't
stop
no amount
it
of pain that's gonna
anyway?
help. But this is one time I am so glad I didn't wear makeup. Because picture the worst you ever saw Tammy Faye Baker looking. Multiply that by about 1 billion, and that's how I would have looked.
Would you please forget about yourself and talk about the movie?
This
Honestly.
is one of the most beautiful, touching, funny, incredible films I have ever seen. If you don't see this movie, you are doing your heart an enormous disservice. There is something in this film for everybody. You like great music, go see Coco. You like a story about family, go see Coco. You like an engaging mystery, go see Coco, because there are some nice twists and turns in this. And there's also a few times this film goes places that I was like, wow, that was really kind of dark.
Yeah, it gets very dark in places.
You really don't think it's going to go there, but it's not like dark in an, oh my God, I'm scarred for life way. It's dark in a, wow, didn't see that coming. Damn, what's going to happen next? kind of a way. And oh my God, I loved this movie. It is beautiful. It is powerful. It will touch your soul. It will really, really reach inside and touch your heart. If this film does not move you, there is something wrong with you.
You're a Vulcan.
Yeah. No, I think this movie would make a Vulcan go like, I have something in my eye. It's not logical.
Maybe
but
Zachary Quinto's Spock.
I have something in my eye. It's
Leonard
not
Nimoy.
Fascinating. I have something in my eye. But the music is incredible. The colors in this film. Oh
my
gosh!
We should say up front, we did not get tickets to the 3D version, and I came out of it saying, I wish we had.
Yeah. When we go see it again, and we're going to go see it again. We're going to go see it in 3D.
We're going to see it in 3D, yeah.
There is so much about this film that you learn so much about another culture. You know, for a lot of people, that's something new and special. But there's also things that, okay, this is another culture, and it might be different from your culture and my culture and the culture of the person sitting next to you. But even though there's differences, there are things that are still so familiar. You sit there and go, oh, wow, my family does that. Or, oh, hey, we do things like that too. So maybe we're not all that damn different. You know? Yeah. And that's a cool thing when people realize that. Whenever people realize, oh, wow, we have more alike than we do different. That's a good thing.
Why are you getting angry?
I'm not angry. I'm just getting emotional and excited. I'm sorry. It's, you know, it's such a beautiful film. And I really, really want to bring up the young man that does the voice of Miguel, Anthony Gonzalez. Oh my gosh, please keep an eye on this young man because he is just so incredible in this film. His voice is so moving. This is actually his first film, I believe. He did a short film in 2015, and he's been on Criminal Minds and The Bridge before that. I really, really think that he is someone to keep an eye on because he's funny, he's sarcastic in a few places, he's actually pretty fresh in a couple of places, but when he cries, you cry because he makes you feel that you feel this kid's pain, and it's so beautiful and so well done. There is just so much about this film, you don't know where to look. That's another reason I want to go see it again, because I feel like, oh wait, I missed that. Yeah. I want to go find that again. You know, it's like those pictures that you stare at and you're supposed to see like a ship or something come out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's that whole 3D thing, but this is even better than that because it's like, oh, there's always something moving and always something going on and always something happening. And it's so incredible to think somebody drew that. Somebody made that. That's sick. That's just crazy. It's a glorious, glorious, glorious film. What did you think?
Well, first of all, you wanted to know the name of the dog.
Yes.
The dog is a Zoloinkuntil, according to the marketing information on Wikipedia. Very nice. Cheers go out first of all to Michael Giacchino's incredible score for this film. The score fits every segment of this, and I'm a sucker for Michael Giacchino, as you guys know. I have been since Speed Racer. This is just one of the best scores he's ever done. Love this. This movie is one of those times where you look at it and it seems brand new, and yet it's very familiar. For fans of Pixar's films, you're going to find little bits and pieces of other Pixar films all the way through this, and they're done in such a way that it does not look like a cheap imitation. It's done as an homage. There's the whole Miguel fascinated with what's his name? I've forgotten already. De la Cruz, by watching the videotapes of his old stuff, that reminiscent of WALL-E, while he's sitting there in front of the little TV watching the videos. You've got the wonderful tram sequences, which are reminiscent of the train from Inside Out. You've got little bits and pieces,
or the people movers in WALL-E.
Yeah, or the people movers in WALL-E too. Yeah, there's little bits and pieces. The only thing I missed in this, and it was probably me because there's so much going on, I didn't see the usual Pixar wink to A113. That pops up everywhere. That's a Disney joke, and it pops up usually in their films. I didn't catch it. I'm gonna have to look when we go see it again. It's probably there somewhere.
I know where it is, but I didn't see it, so I'm gonna have to go look.
Okay, you can tell me later. This movie is so beautiful and so heartwarming, and I'm getting choked up already.
I know.
It is exactly what I said about Speed Racer 10 years ago. Family is everything, and it puts that up to the forefront. At this time of year, one of my favorite Christmas songs is one of those songs that should be on the radio all the time, but nobody ever hears. A song called At Christmas by Hanson from their Snowed Out album from 2007 or 2008. And it talks about family, and that's the first time I heard that. We were going through a rough patch here. I hadn't talked to my mom in a while, and I just started bawling. This movie, I didn't have a Ratatouille moment at the end of this.
Oh, I did.
I didn't have. I had a major Ratatouille moment a few years ago. I still don't know what happened. But this movie, once you see this film, it's going to be on your top 10 films of all time. It's so beautiful and so amazingly animated, and I can't wait to see it in 3D. I really made the mistake of not doing that. Because sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not with the Pixar films.
Yeah.
And this one, it needs it. And I mean, it really could use it. The voice work is spectacular. From Anthony Gonzalez, Gail Garcia Bernal, who finally forgave him for The Loneliest Planet.
I wouldn't go that far.
Benjamin Bratt, who's always excellent, and the rest of the cast, who I'm not familiar with most of the other ones, who do a great job as Miguel's various family members, and there are a lot of them running around.
And there is one cameo moment that I was sitting there like, I was like squealing and applauding and stuff like that.
You were?
At the party, the guest list of the party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't give that away either. That was cool. I have to admit, that was really cool.
I was like, that was awesome.
The whole... I said this to Kim after we were waiting in line because we went to see something else afterward. This makes me wonder why everyone doesn't celebrate the passing of loved ones this way. We see wakes all the time. Kim has grown up Catholic, so she's used to wakes and funerals and such, but no celebration post afterward. And I look at what they do here and look at the traditions. I've seen it before, but never has it come alive in such a rich way to make you feel like you really want to be a part of that, like you're missing part of your own family when you see how the Day of the Dead celebrations work.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said to you when we were talking about the film after it was done. Like you just mentioned, I mean, you grew up Methodist, I grew up Catholic, so we have very different, I don't know how Methodists do things, but, Catholics, no offense to any Methodists. I mean, Catholics, you have a wake, you have your funeral, you go back to somebody's house after the funeral, you talk about people, and then you go home and you go on with your life. Not to say that the way the Latino culture does it, they don't go on with their lives. They do go on with their lives. But the Day of the Dead is the day that you're supposed to... It's a question of don't cry because they're gone. Smile because you knew them.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that just like opened my mind up like a flower. I was like, wow.
It's brilliant. And it really is. And it comes across so much in this film.
Yeah, it really does. You leave this film feeling so... You want to hug everybody.
Well, one of the main one of the main points of the show is that they get to go back for the Day of the Dead, but the person that Miguel eventually hooks up with, a guy named Hector, has trouble because people have not put up his picture on their altars.
Yeah.
So he's being forgotten and he can't get back over to the other side.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why he and Miguel hook up. The deal is he'll help Miguel find De La Cruz if he gets his picture back to the real
land
world.
of the living.
Yeah, and it's just an amazing film. What's your score?
I give Coco an A+.
Me too.
Definite A+.
One of the best films of the year. Don't miss it. Coco is playing everywhere.
Let the holidays begin.
Do we have any traditions, Elsa? I'm sorry, Anna. It's my fault we don't have a family tradition.
We'll go and find the best tradition Anna and Elsa have ever seen.
As always, Pixar films come with a short. Unfortunately, it was not a Pixar short. It was a Disney short. Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Give us the rundown.
Olaf's Frozen... I'm sorry, comment?
Already made. Go ahead.
Olaf's Frozen Adventure takes place... It seems like the first Christmas after the events of the movie Frozen, which is kind of odd. But it's the...
How can you tell? It's always snowy and frozen because Elsa makes it that way.
She doesn't make it that way when she gets control of her powers. But
she does, but in a nice way instead of a bad way. They showed that at the end of the movie.
But my point is that it's obviously the first Christmas they've had in Arendelle since the gates were opened again by the family, the royal family, because now she's Queen Elsa and everything's okay. And so the whole point of it is that they're having this big winter celebration, Christmas celebration, and all of these other families in Arendelle have their own family traditions and stuff like that. The problem is that the royal family doesn't have any royal traditions or family traditions because Mom and Dad are dead and Elsa and Anna were separated for so long because the whole thing with Anna's powers Elsa's powers in Frozen and all that. So Olaf, the snowman, takes it upon himself, along with the reindeer Sven, to go out and find new traditions for the princess and the queen. So he goes all throughout Arendelle, learning about other families' traditions and trying to pick the best traditions to bring back to Elsa and Anna. Since it's Olaf, it doesn't exactly work out the way it's supposed to. And that's a giant understatement.
With Josh Gad as Olaf, Kristen Bell as Princess Anna, Idina Menzel as Queen Elsa, and Jonathan Groff as Kristoff, all recreating their roles from the original film Frozen and the upcoming sequel Frozen 2. I think that there's going to be... it's Olaf. I have to admit, I am not a terribly large fan of the diminutive snowman. I find him kind of thick, kind of naive, extremely irritating, and always annoying. However, I actually enjoyed this. It was quite funny, and there was a lot of good fun in it. There were a lot of little bits and pieces that were quite funny, and the songs that they introduced here, which was supposed to be, by the way, a TV special, and then they decided to put it in the theaters. It was actually not half bad. Not terribly good either, but it wasn't half bad. I know you loved it, probably.
I enjoyed it a lot. I did think it was a weird thing to stick with Coco.
Yeah.
It felt...
It's about as far away as you can get.
Yeah, it felt very out of place with Coco, and the timing on it was weird. It's, Frozen came out, what, 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yes, it's 2013, yeah.
Yeah, so 4 years ago.
4 years ago this month, yeah. It was their big Thanksgiving off from that year.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years, and all of a sudden we're getting a short that takes place pretty soon after the end of the film.
Well, yeah, because
we've already had other shorts where stuff was more established, that it was long after the film.
We have?
There's been at least one.
Have we? I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
It was funny. It was cute. It made me cry. But I am a big marshmallow, so...
Obviously.
Fine! Fine. Be a crudgemudgeon. I don't care.
I don't mind.
I thought it was sweet. And I liked the message of family.
The one thing that bothered me is it took them until the very last line of the movie to actually mention the word Christmas.
See, I still...
You swear you heard it earlier. I didn't. I don't remember hearing it until the very last line.
I heard it at least one other time more than you did, for what it's worth.
Holiday, I heard they had Jewish families doing stuff and different other religions doing stuff, but they never mentioned
Which
Christmas.
I thought was really interesting that they mentioned Hanukkah. They showed family lighting
They showed family
menorah.
lighting a menorah twice and a kid playing with a dreidel.
Yes.
And
they also mentioned the solstice, which is something that's celebrated by a lot of, I believe that's neo-paganism.
And Wiccans, I think, too.
If I just insulted anybody by calling it the wrong thing, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No.
I have one complaint. I have one complaint, and I know the second I bring it up, you're going to roll your eyes, and you're going to go, oh, for the love of Larry, here she goes again.
Okay.
But the whole thing of it is that Olaf collects all of these things for this, all these different traditions, and won't this be great? And he's heading back with a sleigh, which catches fire because Olaf. And
see, you admit it. He's kind of a doofus.
It's not that he's a doofus. He's an innocent.
He's clueless.
So I'm clueless.
No, you're not.
You love me.
No, you're not. Anyway.
But he winds up walking through a dark, wooded part of the forest by himself.
Oh, for the love of Larry, here she goes again.
Yep. And we hear howling, and we see him being chased by wolves. And I'm like, Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph, do we
Watch your mouth? This is a family show.
I'm sorry, but do we have to do the whole wolves are the bad guys thing again? Do we really need to do this?
They don't have hyenas in Arendelle. They're going to have to pick something that's in the Arendelle forest.
Do we really have to do this? Really? Every single friggin' time, Disney.
It could have been a tiger or a lion.
Yeah, because that would have made total sense.
Or a car.
You did it in Pete's Dragon, you did it in the original Frozen, and you did it here. The whole wolves as bad guys stuff is annoying.
Well, you know what they could have done? They
What?
should have just had their cousin or brother come in and take care of them.
What?
That whole Tarzan thing.
What?
The whole Tarzan Pixar
the
theory.
Frozen.
That Elsa and Tarzan and
Go look it up online.
related.
Go look it up online because I ain't touching it.
What's your score?
I give it a B.
I give it a B-. It was fun, not terrific, but it was still enjoyable. And Olaf's Frozen Adventure is playing everywhere with Pixar's Coco.
Don't ask us why.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
PNR Network shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNR Networks.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
What did you do this weekend, Diana?
Me?
Huh.
Nothing very interesting.
It's the team-up movie DC fans have been waiting for years. Question is it as good as everyone had hoped for? Casts of all the DC EU characters, plus some new ones, are all here in the first big team-up from the universe, Justice League. Give us the rundown.
Justice League is the story of the beginnings of one of the most famous comic book teams ever, the formation of the Justice League of America.
Not anymore.
No, now it's just the Justice League, right. We begin thousands of years ago when Earth faced an attack of, I think apocalyptic strength isn't being completely inaccurate.
Considering they were from Apocalypse, no, I don't think that was completely inaccurate.
No. A creature called Steppenwolf and his army of what are called parademons invaded Earth thousands of years ago and attempted to conquer and basically destroy Earth, turning it into a twin of the planet Steppenwolf is from, a hellish place called Apocalypse. Using the energy of tech from their planet called Mother Boxes. They were beaten back at the time by an army that was what you probably call one of the most ultimate team-ups ever. The Olympian gods working in tandem with the Amazons of Themyscira, the Atlanteans of the undersea kingdom of Atlantis, and members of the Green Lantern Corps, which I didn't realize existed thousands of years ago, but whatever. Steppenwolf's army was repelled at that time, and the Mother Boxes, which remained on Earth, were taken by 3 of the groups of warriors to be hidden away, never to be used again by anybody because the power is just too damn dangerous. The Amazons took one of the boxes, the Atlanteans took one of the boxes, and the humans took one of the boxes and hid them away, hopefully never to see the light of day again.
Protected them all from the Eye of Sauron.
Wrong franchise.
Not quite. Anyway.
Now we come to now in this time frame. And now is an Earth in mourning. An Earth that is mourning the death of Superman, who was killed by Doomsday. And Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman, knows that something bad is coming. something very bad. And this time, there are no gods to protect Earth. There are no Kryptonians to protect Earth. And there are no lanterns to protect Earth. It's going to be up to men and one woman. But what a woman. Bruce puts together a team including a person that he's fought side by side with already, Princess Diana of Themyscira, also known as Wonder Woman, a young man who was exposed to the power of the mother boxes by his father, who was desperate to save him, a young man named, Victor Stone. Victor Stone. A mysterious person that comes from the ocean to help out a far-flung village, a man that they call the Aquaman, and Barry Allen, who can break the speed of sound, light, possibly time, and any other thing you can think of with his amazing speeds. And together the team of Batman, the Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and the Flash intend to stop the returning Steppenwolf and his parademons, but they may need more help, and they may need to reach a very long way to get it.
Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, Batman. Henry Cavill as Clark Kent, Superman. Amy Adams as Lois Lane. Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, a.k.a. Wonder Woman. Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, also known as The Flash. Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry, who is Aquaman. I don't care. They put the in front of Superman, too, and it bugs me. It's not the Aquaman. It's just Aquaman. Ray Fisher as Victor Stone, a.k.a. Cyborg. Plus Jeremy Irons as Alfred, Diane Lane as Martha Kent, Connie Nielsen as Queen Hippolyta, J.K. Simmons in his first turn as Commissioner Gordon, and Syrian Hines, or an unreasonable facsimile, as Steppenwolf. Okay, so what did you think? Critics have been lambasting it all over the place, and it's got a very divided public out there. We're a bit late with our review. What do you think?
I had fun. I had fun
too, but there's a lot of problems with it.
It's not perfect.
No, it's far from perfect.
No, it's far from perfect, but I enjoyed myself. I found it to be a compelling story. I found the characters to be interesting, and I wanted to, watch where they were going and watch how they gelled or didn't gel. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a good plot. Like I said, it's not perfect. It's exciting. I love the flashes of humor. I absolutely adore Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
We only see him like 3 minutes.
I know, but he's just fantastic. I love him anyway, but I love his kind of really snarky, I am really fed up with your crap, Alfred. I just love that. And Ezra Miller picks up this movie and walks the hell off with it. He is just so brilliant as Barry Allen. And I'm going to get a death look for this. I don't care. He's adorable. There, I said it.
No, it's not. That's nothing wrong with that.
Sorry, not sorry. I could look at Gal Gadot for hours. Gadot. Sorry, I could look at Gal Gadot for hours because she is a work of art come to life. She is beauty and strength and intelligence and compassion and power and just incredible. And Jason Momoa.
Oh, here we go.
Oh my gosh. Oh my. He's, woo. Is it hot in here or is it just him? I really liked his turn as Aquaman. I thought he was really, really incredible. He really blew my mind. He's funny. He's got this I don't give a blank attitude, but you can tell he does care, even though he acts like he doesn't. And he's just smoking freaking hot. I'm a woman. I have needs.
It has nothing
Don't
to do
judge
with
me.
the film.
It has everything to do with the way I like the film. Although, and I have to actually say this film actually did something that's never happened to me before. It made me want Ben Affleck, but it's the suit. I know it's the suit. I'm sorry. I enjoyed it. I had fun. It made me want more. That's the most important thing I can say about this film. Especially, and do we really need to stay beyond the credits? Do we really need to tell you guys that at this point?
Yes, because they've never done it with a DC movie before. They do this time.
Mm-hmm. They do. And it's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. I had fun. I don't care. It's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. And you could have spent a little more characterization on certain people, but I had fun. I would go see it again. I definitely can't wait to see what's coming next. What about you?
It has its flaws. Overall, I had a fun time, but there are a lot of problems with it. The special effects are... The critics are really ragging on the special effects. I don't see any point in ragging on the special effects, and I don't think they did a bad job removing Henry Cavill's mustache.
I didn't either.
For those of you who are yet unaware, yes, Superman is in this film. So there you go. It's an interesting way they bring him back. But it's
very interesting because now, we're going to have to get into that.
Problems with the movie. Number one, Aquaman. Everything is wrong with Aquaman. This is not the Aquaman that I remember from the Justice League cartoons or the comic books. He is a Game of Thrones reject. And I'm sorry, I don't like this version of Aquaman, and it does not bode well for the Aquaman film, which is the next film in the series due out next year. Granted, people like him can go there and sit and drool for 2 hours. I really don't care about that. I don't like the way they played him. I don't like the way that it's done. But that's just me. I also don't really like the way that they've kind of shuffled Barry into the comic relief zone. Although Ezra is brilliant at doing it, Flash is not necessarily a comedian. The Barry Allen version wasn't. That's the Wally West Flash. We're going into this again. Once again, they're taking Barry Allen and pushing Wally West's personality onto him. It happened with the original TV series with John Wesley Shipp. It happens every week on the CW with Grant Gustin, and now it's happening with Ezra Miller in the films. This is Wally West's personality, not Barry Allen's. But I enjoy his portrayal. Ezra is the best thing about this film, bar none. The other thing that bugs me is there are too many attempts to recreate the feel and the warmth of the Lord of the Rings films. Now, what do I mean by this?
Yeah, what do you mean by this?
Oh, come on! The whole explanation by Gal Gadot's character, Diana, to Bruce Wayne about what happened when Steppenwolf came to Earth thousands of years ago. All I could hear was Cate Blanchett, the world is changing. The entire thing was ripped right out of the opening of Fellowship of the Ring. All they did was change the characters and change the battles look the same, except instead of elves, you've got gods and Green Lanterns and Atlanteans. The same thing. It was ripped right out of Lord of the Rings. The overall CGI is overpowering in most places. They decided, for some unknown reason, nobody quite figures out why, Steppenwolf is done completely with CGI, with Syrian Hines underneath in the motion capture suit. It would have been nice if they made him look a little bit like Syrian Hines, who was a very handsome Irish actor, and I think he's a very good actor too, and I've loved him in everything I've ever seen him in, and he was great here, but it didn't look like him, and I was kind of hoping that it would have that kind of regal look that he has. He is a very regal-looking guy, and it would
I don't
fit
know what
fine.
Steppenwolf
I don't either.
looks like in the
he looks
comics,
more like
so.
the comics than he looks like the actor, which is fine, I suppose. But it would have been nice to put a little bit of a touch in that aspect, because he's playing a human. It's not like Benedict Cumberbatch when he did the Smaug. You can't put Benedict's face on a dragon. That's understandable. But this here, where you had a human or humanoid character, it would have been nice if they'd done that. It wasn't an overall issue, but it's just something that just stuck out at me. I also thought, like I said, that the CGI was overpowering, so overpowering in places you couldn't keep your eyes on anything else that was going on. You lost track of the heroes in the middle of the CGI. Where they're getting that it's shoddy CGI, I don't know, because it's amazingly good. And I mean, in all the sequences, but it's so overpowering that you lose the principle in in who's supposed to be the principal character in that particular sequence.
Okay.
That having said, the dynamic between these actors is fantastic. They are great. You can feel that team coming together, especially in a couple of throwaway scenes between Cyborg and Flash that are hysterically funny. Ezra trying to make jokes and Cyborg not having any of it. My big problem with Cyborg, it's another big problem with Aquaman is they've implanted Aquaman with the personality of Green Arrow from the comic books. Aquaman and Green Arrow.
He hates Green Arrow.
I don't hate Green Arrow, but I found him abrasive and obnoxious, and that's this way Aquaman is. They've taken Oliver Queen from the Justice League comics of the 70s and 80s and installed him in Arthur Curry, and that's not the way Arthur was. Arthur was an angry man after Atlantis happened, after he lost his hand back in the 80s, but he was always a compassionate, kind person before that. And that doesn't come across with this character.
See, I don't agree with you. I definitely don't agree with you. What he's doing for that village, he's not doing that.
He's doing that village, yes, I understand that. But that's one little village out of all these. I'm not saying he doesn't care about the people. What I'm saying about overall, he comes across as doing this for selfish reasons, not selfless reasons. And that just bothers me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Nobody else is complaining about it. I just found me. When Superman does reappear, it's kind of nice. But I don't know why we bothered why did we bother to hire J.K. Simmons and Connie Nielsen and Diane Lane and Jeremy Irons and Amy Adams, because they're in the film for maybe 5 minutes each, and they really don't play a major part in the plot of any of them.
Well, we know why they brought in Amy Adams as Lois Lane, because if they didn't...
And Amy is more important to the plot line than any of the other ones. We didn't really need to see Diane Lane until the very end of the film. We didn't really need to see Commissioner Gordon at all. I mean, not to say that I don't like the way J.K. Simmons is playing it. He rocks the 3 minutes he has with it. But it was, I don't know, it just wasn't, it didn't gel. And Connie Nielsen had more to do, at least, in that early stuff where they were showing him come back after the mother box.
Right.
But still.
Which just freaked me out, because there's a lot of...
And Robin Wright was there, too. So.
There's a lot of scenes in that whole part of horses getting hurt, and I'm completely flipping my crap.
The two end sequences are really funny, the end credit sequences. And like I said, when they finally get to the penultimate battle, it's kind of overdone with the CGI, but there is sequences with Flash and with Cyborg and with Superman that are really well done, particularly Flash trying to figure out what direction he's going. Mm-hmm. And Superman coming to his aid, and it's really funny, and it leads to a scene at the end of the credits.
Yeah, so which is awesome.
It is awesome. And that's, I can't condemn it. I won't condemn it. I love Justice League. I love the chemistry. I think it's great. The score is Danny Elfman has done better. I like the fact that he did include the Batman, the animated series theme in the scene with the bat signal, with a little bit of the flourish of the notes.
And also they included a little bit of John Williams' score for Superman, which that made me very, very
That
happy.
was kind of neat. But overall, it does need help. It was fun, and it is fun, and I would like to see it again, without a question.
Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Which is
the whole Superman issue.
What about Superman?
Well, you said you wanted to bring it up, and so did I. The whole... we
don't want to tell them what happens. Okay. We want you to see it, but the whole resurrection thing is really kind of creepy. Even you said so.
It's very... It brings up a lot, and I realize some people are going to go, what? But it does bring up a lot of ethical questions. And I know that some people...
I don't think they're ethical so much in the fact that we don't really know for sure if Superman was really and truly dead. We got the clue at the very end, in the final half second of Batman vs. Superman, when the dirt on the coffin started to vibrate and rise, which says to me Superman was not dead, he was comatose. Mm. So I don't know how they're going to explain that in the long run, but it's still...
Okay.
That's how I would take it. What is your overall score?
I gave it a B+.
I gave it a B plus as well. I gave it a B, actually. I enjoyed it enough that I'd go see it again. All its flaws, and I'd like to have an Aquaman deleter. But other than that, I really did enjoy it, and I especially loved Ezra Miller. I always would. I knew that was going to be a highlight because Ezra just rocks, and there's just
he's just so adorable.
I'm looking forward. My biggest advice to Warner Brothers: too many cooks spoil the pot. Ask Kevin Feige. He knows what he's doing. It's why Marvel has been so successful. They need one person. One. In charge of everything. Not the one person there answering to 80 different people underneath who each have an idea of what they're doing. That shit has to go. Until it goes, the DCEU is going to come nowhere near Marvel level.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service. Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video-on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning, from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
You ain't trying to make me believe in reincarnation, are you? 'Cause you're pretty, but you ain't her. She got killed. Still no rest. How come, I wonder? Because there ain't no God and the whole world's empty and it doesn't matter what we do to each other? I hope not.
It's the latest film from writer-director Martin McDonagh, and it has been getting critical raves since it first appeared a few months ago at the various film festivals. Now, what will average audiences think of it? Give us the rundown on Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, and Woody Harrelson in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is the story of Mildred Hayes, who is a woman on a mission. Mildred lost her daughter to a terrible crime. Her daughter Angela was raped and murdered in a gruesome way 7 months earlier. And so far, the police have not caught her killer. So far, it seems like the police haven't done a damn thing. And Mildred has had it with all of the placating and all of the we're looking into it, it's, you know, and the whole being put off by the police kind of thing. She has decided she is going to do something about this. So she goes to a local a young man who is the person, his name is Red Welby, who is in charge of he's the person that you go to about renting billboards. There are 3 billboards near Mildred's home on a road that most people don't take any longer because of a rerouting done for the local highway. She pays to have she pays for these 3 billboards to rent them, to put up 3 separate signs. The signs are basically saying in sequence, in an order, like those old Burma Shave things. If you remember that, you're old.
I don't even remember Burma Shave from back when. I remember what it was.
Yeah.
And seeing old films of them.
The billboards say raped while dying and still no arrests. How come Chief Willoughby? The Chief Willoughby that she mentions is Sheriff William Willoughby, the local police chief, who is less than pleased with this turn of events. and also has other things in his own personal life to deal with, including the fact that he is terminally ill with pancreatic cancer. The town, although people in town are sympathetic to Mildred for losing her daughter in such a terrible way, the town quickly turns on Mildred for these billboards because they feel like, number one, they are not fair to the sheriff, who has a lot of friends in town. And number two, I think more of it has to do with the fact that Mildred is, how do I say this? Not easy to like. I don't know how else to say that and not use a very bad word. Mildred is a person that I think you definitely get the feeling from flashbacks and things like this. Even before this happened, this terrible thing happened to her daughter Angela, Mildred was not an easy person to be around. She is abrasive. She is foul-mouthed. She is blunt to the point of tactless.
The C word came up a number of times in the film.
Yeah. And she is
at least once out of her son.
Yeah. And once out of her. And her last words to her daughter, she didn't realize they were going to be the last words to her daughter, were some of the most hateful things I have ever heard a parent say to their child. Mm-hmm. Not intentionally realizing they were her last words, but such is life. Mm-hmm. The situation snowballs faster than your average, ball of the white stuff getting kicked down the Matterhorn. And, the more the police put pressure on Mildred to take the billboards down, the more Mildred sticks up both middle fingers in a salute that would make Stone Cold Steve Austin proud. And it escalates from there to violence, to assault, to arson, twice, and possibly a case getting solved. Possibly, but maybe not the one that you think.
With Frances McDormand as Mildred Hayes, Woody Harrelson as Sheriff Bill Willoughby, Sam Rockwell as Officer Jason Dixon, John Hawkes as her ex-husband Charlie Hayes, Peter Dinklage as James, a man who's sweet on Mildred for some reason, Lucas Hedges as her son, Robbie, Abby Cornish as Sheriff Willoughby's wife, Anne, Samara Weaving as Penelope, the girlfriend of her ex-husband, Caleb Landry Jones as Red Welby, the advertising man, plus Clark Peters, Daryl Britt Gibson, Catherine Newton, Carrie Condon, Zyko Ivanek, Amanda Warren, Sandy Martin, Christopher Berry, and Nick Searcy. We should say up front, this is a black comedy.
Oh, yes.
What do you think?
This is a pitch black comedy. This is dark as the inside of a coal miner's glove pitch black comedy. Directed by Martin McDonagh, the man who brought us the incredible In Bruges and the completely insane Seven Psychopaths.
Neither one of which I completely liked, although In Bruges I gave a B in retrospect. This
is one of the most powerful films I have ever seen in my life. This film, the best way to describe this film would be if you opened a door and walked into a pitch dark room and somebody splashed you in the face with a bucket of ice cold water and then put that bucket on your head and then hit the bucket with a sledgehammer. And that ringing sound, that's how much
That's hyperbole you hear right there.
That is the ringing sound that is in your ears is how much this film is going to resonate and reverberate with you. If you are a person who has never been touched by violent crime, God love you. God love you and protect you because you're obviously, a lucky person. You watch what Mildred goes through, and I know it's very easy for all of us to sit there and go, damn, this woman is nuts. But if you are a parent and your child is taken away from you in such a horrible way, and you feel like nothing is being done to bring the people to justice, I defy anybody to say that they wouldn't move heaven or hell to get the people that hurt your child. So I realize that some people might be like, what Mildred is doing is illegal and violent and terrible and blah, 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 blah. Walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, bro.
Okay, so what did you actually think of the film?
The film is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. It is visceral on so many levels. It is funny, but not in it's funny, but not in a laugh out loud way. Although it's weird. You do laugh out loud, and then you clap your hand over your mouth and go, "Oh my God, did I just actually laugh out loud? Did anybody else hear that?" And you realize other people. You look around, there's other people in the theater with their hand up against their mouth, looking just as shocked as you did, with that "Oh my God" look on their face. It is brutal. It's one of the most brutal films I've seen, and not in a Quentin Tarantino brutal kind of way, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal in the fact that it beats up your heart. There are so many times in this film where you think something's going to happen, and the reason you think something's going to happen is because we're so conditioned to think this is going to happen because that's the way it happens in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And this takes that idea and chucks it out the nearest open window. Frances McDormand is... I could watch her read the phone book and give it a standing ovation anyway, because she's amazing. She takes a character that in the hands of somebody else would be a complete and utter parody and turns her into a figure almost out of a Greek tragedy. By the end of this film, you know that the path that she and another character are on. You know it's a terrible idea. You know it's probably going to go horribly wrong, because that's just the way Mildred's life is. But at the same time, you're going, man, I really want this to work out for you, because it's right. It may not be legal, but it's right. Everybody else in this film is just freaking spectacular. I have to bring up Woody Harrelson because he is one of my favorite actors anyway. And I don't know what it is with Martin McDonagh, because he brings out something in Woody that nobody else seems to be able to bring out. Although Woody's usually amazing, but McDonagh takes it to a stellar level. I mean, his performance in Seven Psychopaths, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. His performance in this is a lot more understated. It's just as sweary.
Completely different character. He was a murderous bastard in Seven Psychopaths.
It's just as sweary. But his character is a genuinely good person. He's in an awful situation on both sides. He knows that on one side he's got his own mortality and it's looking him right in the face. And on the other side he's got Mildred, who he knows he's failing. He's not meaning to fail her, but the leads just aren't there. And it's an unbelievable film. It's so incredible. I really, really think it's an incredible film. It's a very adult film. I really don't think anybody over 16...
It's rated R, honey. Nobody over 17 is allowed.
I realize that, yeah, but you know that and I know that. And how many 12-year-olds have you seen?
How many 12-year-olds are going to be interested in this movie?
I know.
None.
But I'm just saying, I think you do have to be of a certain age to get it. But I do think when you do get it, you really get it. What a trip. What did you think?
I'm not a huge fan of Martin McDonagh's. I liked In Bruges in retrospect, but I didn't like it when I was sitting there watching it. And I hated Seven Psychopaths. I hated that film.
I know.
I liked Christopher Walken's character, and that was it. But this movie is brilliant. It's brilliant from beginning to end. And it is one of the funniest films I've seen in a long time. Yes, it's the kind of film that makes you laugh because it's not a laugh of, oh, ha, 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 that's funny. It's like, ha, ha, oh my God, did they really say that?
Yeah.
It's Killer Joe funny. And I've never seen Frances McDormand better. I love her anyway. She's one of the best actresses on the planet, and she's terrific here. And could we just knock off everything else and just give Sam Rockwell his Oscar for supporting actor right now? Seriously. I love the guy. He's already chalked up a bunch of nominations. The film is nominated for 13 British Independent Film Awards, which we'll also talk about the Independent Spirits in a minute. But this thing is up for everything there. Loved Woody Harrelson here, too. Caleb Landry Jones is one of my favorite young actors on the planet, and here he comes across in a very limited role. He's the advertising guy that lets her do the billboards, but he has a pivotal part in 2 or 3 of these, and the final scene he has is really touching, and it blew my mind, and I really hope that you guys get a chance to see it. He's just so good at everything. The overall premise is fantastic, and it's just it makes you feel for the character, even though she's a total bitch.
Yep.
And she was that way before any of this happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I mean, I understand that she's probably got that way after years and years of being abused by her ex-husband, who was also a cop.
Yeah.
I don't know, and her kids, her surviving son is this depressed, obnoxious, snot-nosed kid who just can't understand why his mother is doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And she's not willing to explain it to him, so it gets a little bit dicey
But
there,
it's very
too.
obvious in the flashback that we do see, the one time we see Angela on screen, played by Supernatural alum Catherine Newton. Yay!
Yeah.
That Angela was no,
this is a very dysfunctional family.
Pigtailed little angel. She was just as foul-mouthed and abrasive as her mom.
Yeah, and her brother.
Yeah, but she certainly didn't deserve her fate.
I gotta point out there is some really hilarious comic relief coming from Samara Weaving, who plays her ex-husband's new girlfriend, a 19-year-old zoo employee named Penelope.
Do people still name their kids Penelope?
She waltzes in 2 different really heavy scenes and completely takes it over, and it's hysterical. You have to see it. What's your score?
I give 3 Billboards a very enthusiastic A.
Me too. 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri is slowly opening across the country. It's now open in about half the country and will open wider over the next 3 weeks. Keep an eye out for it. You don't want to miss it.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
Our first red carpet monitor for this season. It's award season. It's officially here. We're only 4 weeks away from the Poppies and Rosies. You better be ready for that too. Earlier in the season, we had some documentary nominations come out, and I'll go over those with you eventually. But this week, on Thursday, I believe it was, the nominees for the 2017 Film Independent Spirit Awards were announced. These are the second level awards that are considered every year during Oscar weekend. The others are the Razzies and the Oscars. They're all the same weekend. These are the films saluted by Film Independent and the people who nominated them. The nominations were a little bit surprising. There were some people left out. There were some films left out. But for the most part, it did look interesting and does reflect a lot of popular independent films from this year. Nominated for Best Feature, Call Me By Your Name, which came out this past weekend and goes wide in a couple of weeks. Get Out, Lady Bird, The Florida Project, and The Writer, which I believe is a Japanese or a Chinese film. Best First Feature nominees went to Columbus, Ingrid Goes West, Menashe, Oh Lucy, and Patty Cakes, which was a favorite at Sundance last year. Mm-hmm. The John Cassavetes Award, these, if I'm not mistaken, these are the under $500,000 budget awards. Devon, A Ghost Story, Life and Nothing More, Most Beautiful Island, and The Transfiguration. Nominated for Best Director, Sean Baker, The Florida Project, Jonas Carpagno, Isiambra, Luca Guadagnino, I can't pronounce his name, for Call Me By Your Name, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Benny and Josh Safdie for Good Time, and Chloe Zhao for The Writer. For Best Screenplay, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Azazel Jacobs for The Lovers, Martin McDonough for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Jordan Peele for Get Out, and Mike White for Beatrice at Dinner. For Best First Screenplay, the movies nominated were Donald Cried, which I seem to remember getting trashed by the critics when it came out. I thought that did too. The Big Sick, Women Who Kill, Columbus, and Ingrid Goes West. Best Cinematography nominations went to the cinematographers for The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Columbus, Beach Rats, Call Me By Your Name, and The Writer. Best Editing nominations went to the editors for Good Time, Call Me By Your Name, The Writer, Get Out, and I, Tonya. Nominated for Best Female Lead, Salma Hayek for Beatrice at Dinner, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, Shibinu Terajima for Oh Lucy, and Regina Williams for Life and Nothing More. For Best Male Lead, the nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, Harris Dickinson for Beach Rats, James Franco for The Disaster Artist, woohoo! Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, and Robert Pattinson for Good Time. Supporting female nominations, Holly Hunter, The Big Sick, Allison Janney, I, Tonya, Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird, Lois Smith, Marjorie Prime, and Talia Lanice Webster, I think I pronounced that right, for Good Time. Supporting male, Nanami Azumuga for Crown Heights, Armie Hammer for Call Me By Your Name, Barry Kagan for The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Benny Safdie for Good Time. The Robert Altman Award given to the cast and casting director of a film goes to Mudbound this year, one of this year's favorites at Sundance. And Best International Film nominees, BPM, Beats Per Minute, from France, A Fantastic Woman from Chile, I Am Not a Witch from Zambia, Lady Macbeth from the UK, and Loveless from Russia. Best documentary nods went to The Departure, Faces Places, Last Men in Aleppo, Motherland, and Quest. There are also some other separate, smaller filmmaker awards. Big surprise, I think, was not so much love for The Florida Project, which has been talked about as a major Oscar contender. Nothing for Willem Dafoe in the acting category. Mm-hmm. And also, no picture nomination for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, but nominations for Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell, which I thought was interesting. The other movies that are talked a lot, the most nominations went to, I was a bit surprised that there wasn't more from Good Time, actually. Well, actually, there are 5 nominations from Good Time. Florida Project only got 2. Killing of a Sacred Deer, which was a monster critical hit at Cannes, only got 2 nominations. I was happy to see James Franco first get nominated for The Disaster Artist, which comes out this weekend. Can't wait. Get his first recognition here. Everybody thinks he's going to get a major contender for a Globe, which those nominations will be out in a couple weeks. And I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season, I think, this year. These are not usually indicative of the Oscars. They can be in the big categories like acting and Best Picture. But this year they've seemed to really have picked a diverse lineup. And I think the best chances in acting outside of James Franco there is probably Allison Janney, who's getting raves for playing Tonya Harding's mother in I, Tonya. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. But those are the first ones. The Spirit Awards will happen the day before the Oscars, March 3rd, 2018, from the tent on the Santa Monica Beach, as they do every year. Hosts from last year, and I've forgotten the comedy team that's doing it, have re-signed and will host again this year. it'll be an interesting show.
Yep.
As promised on this month's editions of the 13 Report, we're delving into some of the classic shorts aired on Mystery Science Theater 3000 that have vaguely to do with food in some way, shape, or form. The first one up this week is a hilarious and really entertaining short for what it is, called Out of This World. It happens to be about a bread salesman.
Yes. Out of This World is the short that was included with the Misty for High School Big Shot. Out of This World is the short about a devil and an angel who are warring over the soul of a bread truck driver. You know, I'm sorry. They taught us some weird stuff in Sunday school, but this is really different. The whole idea is that you have these two file clerks from heaven and hell who work in the same office. Office? Red, the devil, and Whitey, the angel.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying any of this. And the whole point of it is that they make a bet with each other about the soul of a specific gentleman who delivers bread.
Bread delivery man Bill Dudley.
Yes. Who used
Played
to be,
by a Ryan Stiles lookalike.
who used to be quite kind of slovenly and uncaring about his work, but is lately, walking the straight and narrow. What any of this has to do with your immortal soul, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. Now, a lot of the shorts were obviously, most shorts I would say fell into three categories. They were either the cliffhanger shorts that they did at the beginning of movies, for small films, the educational shorts, the stuff that we used to get in school that used to try and scare you into being good, or the things that they show people who work for a specific type of business.
Right.
This falls into that category.
Yeah.
This is just weird. It's a weird hot fudge sundae with a topping of extra weird on top.
I thought it was wicked funny.
The mistying is great.
Well, even just the ridiculousness of the entire film is great, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic and incredibly offensive to anybody of faith, but it's,
Well, yeah, probably.
I mean, we all like to think God has a sense of humor, hence the giraffe, but this is crazy. And the platypus. This is insane. This is one of the most insane, loopy, back guano nuts things I have ever seen in my life. Just the whole idea of office workers from Paradise and from the Pit working in the same office building, the same office quarters is just, that makes my head hurt so much. This is just ridiculous. I mean, it's funny, it's goofy, it's complete. You have to wonder, people who actually had a job and had to go see this as part of their job, they had to be sitting there going, am I getting paid for this? It is completely crazy. It is just goofy as hell. The other short that we wanted to talk about today is from the Misty with one of the longest titles they ever had. I gotta take a deep breath for this one.
Uh-huh.
From the saga of the Viking women and their voyage to the waters of the great sea serpent
comes the home economics story.
You talk. I gotta lie down for a
minute.
The
story, male narrator narrating the story of Kay, who makes a decision to study home economics at Iowa State University, trying to become a home economics professor. It is home economics, for those of you who don't know, is the study of various things to do with making your home.
Yeah. Because that's the only thing a woman would be able to study at college.
No, That's not really what they're implying, but they're showing that there's a lot more to home economics than just cooking and cleaning and sewing. They show that it's budgetary and money related and all different stuff.
And you can go into jobs like being a preschool teacher and stuff like that and shoot me. It's just... I'm sorry. I
took 4 years of home ec in high school, and I was very active with our local chapter of the FHA, and I was the only guy in the FHA, actually, in my school. And I enjoyed every second of it. I mean, home ec could get really irritating because I wasn't really the best at sewing. Mm-hmm. But that's where I learned to have my love for cooking and everything else. So
I took one. I took 1 year
and you nearly killed somebody when you did it.
I didn't nearly kill somebody. Exactly. It wasn't my fault.
It was the deadly caramel apples.
It was toffee, and it wasn't my fault that it was that sticky. So somebody ate it and couldn't open their mouth for a minute.
Seriously, this is about 4 friends going through university for 4 years.
There are a lot of jokes about the love that dare not speak its name.
And this was also one of the longest shorts they ran.
Yeah.
It ran close to 20 minutes, I think, 2 segments.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredibly long, and I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it pokes fun at college life, and has all kinds of great stuff, but for today's audience, people are going to be going, you're teaching her how to be Donna Reed.
Most women, I think, would be kind of vacillating between you got to be kidding or I'm going to choke somebody.
What? You mean we have to be subjugated to men?
Yeah.
One of Joel's great little riffs from that one. You can check those out, as we said. I don't know about Viking Woman being on DVD yet, but the other one is, and you can check them on. I think they're both on the short series too. Definitely try it out if you haven't seen them. It's been a couple of months since we've gone over this, so we thought we'd get it in now. Of course, we've lost a lot of people. We've mentioned a few of them here and there, but and we'll have a full recap on our December shows. But over the past couple of months, we have lost the following people. On October 2nd, Warren Burton passed away. You don't know the face, you don't know the name, but you probably know the face. He was on soaps on all 3 networks. He did a whole bunch of different movies over the year. Very recognizable character actor. He was 72. Also, we lost the legendary Tom Petty on October 2nd of a heart attack. He was 66. We talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
On October 3rd, wrestling announcer and commentator Lance Russell passed away. He was 91. Complications from a broken hip. Lance was best known for his coverage of the CWA, USWA, and WCW in its earlier days.
Yeah. Lance was a real gentleman when it came to wrestling announcers. He made the focus of his talking about the wrestlers and the storylines and things like that, not about him. He was a real gentleman. He'll definitely be missed.
On October 4th, Janice Hansen passed away. Janice was a singer and an author, best known for doing the lead vocal on Sergio Mendes in Brazil's '66 hit The Look of Love, which came from Casino Royale, the 1965 version. Mm-hmm. Jerry Ross passed away on October 4th as well. Ross was best known as the head of Heritage and Colossus Records. Also wrote a number of big hits, including I'm Gonna Make You Love Me for the Supremes. He was 84. Actor William Tepper passed away at 69 of a heart attack on October 4th. He was another character actor, best known for his breakthrough role in Drive, He Said, the first movie directed by Jack Nicholson, and also made appearances in other films and also wrote screenplays over the years. On October 5th, actor Trevor Martin passed away. Trevor was a staple of British television and films, seen often on stuff like Coronation Street, Doctor Who, seen in movies and everything. He was 87. On October 11th, Don Pedro Coley passed away. Probably best known as Gideon from the television series. Which show was that? That was Western. Was it Bonanza? He was on one of the Westerns. He was also played the local sheriff in the county next to the Hazard County in the Dukes of Hazzard when he appeared. Also appeared in Planet of the Apes sequel Beneath the Planet of the Apes and THX 1138, he was 79. And British actor Roy Dotrice passed away on October 16th. Dotrice, now known for Game of Thrones, but to the generation before, best known as Father from Beauty and the Beast, where chief role played with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton for several years. Also a Tony Award winner and appeared in numerous things over the years. Musician George Young passed away on the 22nd of October. He was 70. Scottish-born but Australian-bred, he produced a number of projects by AC/DC and was also responsible for the atrocity called Love Is in the Air that was a hit in the disco era. I never could stand that song. I'm sorry, Mr. Young. It was a hit for John Paul somebody. I've forgotten his name. On October 24th, legendary Fats Domino passed away. He was 89. Fats, of course, known for all manners of hits in the 50s and 60s, including Ain't That a Shame, I'm Walkin', Blueberry Hill, name made synonymous with the younger generation thanks to Richie Cunningham's obsession with Blueberry Hill. He was 89. And Robert Guillaume passed away. Robert, best known for playing Benson in the television series of the same name, but also played Phantom of the Opera in a tour company, did a show called Sports Night in the 90s, also did voices for a number of different things. And, of course, started on soap.
Yeah,
he was 89.
Robert played the Benson character first on
Soap,
the soap opera spoof Soap, and was so popular at that they gave him his own show.
They sure did, and it ran for twice as long as Soap did.
Yeah. And I have to say, we both heard his performance as the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera.
Brilliant.
And it's
he was brilliant as the Phantom.
Took your breath away.
On October 25th, Jack Bannon passed away. Jack was a character actor. You saw him a lot in the 80s, but he was probably best known for his regular role as the city editor on Lou Grant with Ed Asner. He was 77. And Robert Blakely passed away. He was 95. Robert was the American graphic designer who designed the Fallout Shelter sign. That's I don't know if you see those very much around anymore. They still do exist in Midwestern towns and smaller towns, but they're the giant orange and yellow, or yellow and black, orange or yellow and black signs with the shelter arrow, the triangles pointing down to show you where the Fallout Shelter is.
Sometimes with a figure with stairs on, walking down stairs.
On October 29th, Dennis Banks passed away. Dennis was co-founder of the American Indian Movement and also an actor in a number of films, specifically dealing with various Indian cultures like Thunderheart and The Last of the Mohicans. He was 80. Singer and American funk writer Keith Wilder passed away. He was 65. Wilder was one of the members of the band Heatwave, who had their biggest hits in the 1970s with songs like Groove Line, Always and Forever, Boogie Nights, and all those songs. Actor Brad Bafunda passed away on November 1st. He committed suicide. Brad was best known for his recurring role on the television series Veronica Mars. He was 34. A man very important to us because we are science fiction fans, and possibly the best science fiction music writer of all time. Dudley Simpson passed away on November 4th. He was 95. I had no idea he was that old. Yeah. He wrote 3 of the most iconic science fiction television show themes of all time. The themes from Doctor Who, Blake Seven, and The Tomorrow People. And it was a very influential composer in all British television and such. He was brilliant with what he did. On November 7th, Deborah Chasnoff passed away. Chasnoff was a documentary filmmaker, best known for her Oscar-winning documentary Deadly Deception, General Electric, Nuclear Weapons in Our Environment. She died from breast cancer. On November 9th, one of my favorite all-time character actors, John Hillerman, passed away. Yeah. Hillerman was a staple of television from the 1970s on forward. I first saw him playing Simon, what was his last name? Bremer on Ellery Queen. Later he would play Anne Romano's boss on One Day at a Time. He would play Magnum P.I.'s boss on the television show of the same name. He was Captain Peacock in the unsuccessful American pilot for a version of Are You Being Served that never took air called Beans of Boston.
Yeah, a show that they had wanted Robin Williams to play the Mr. Humphreys part.
Yeah, and of course he's in Blazing Saddles and Chinatown and tons of things. He was just an amazing actor. older. He was 84. On November 12th, Liz Smith passed away. Liz was the last remaining original big gossip columnist. She continued to write until she got sick about 2 years ago. She was in Newsday, New York Daily News. She had television shows. She did everything. And she is the last of the great ones. On November 14th, Nancy Zeman passed away. Nancy is best known for her television series Sewing with Nancy, which airs on PBS stations all over the country. Is a regular staple of the Create Network. And she was 64. Rapper and singer Little Peep passed away on November 15th. He was 21. Here was this guy who went out there, insisted he never did drugs, never drank, never did anything, but he died of a drug overdose. I think that was pretty ironic. On November 16th, Anne Wedgeworth passed away. She was 83. I knew her best from her role as the crazy neighbor lady in Three's Company in the late 70s, but she was also on the Burt Reynolds comedy Evening Shade for many years. And Steel Magnolias.
She appeared in Steel Magnolias in a part that still gets talked about by my friends. She is the lady who makes the groom's cake at the wedding, the wedding of Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney's character.
Red velvet armadillo cake with
gray icing. She mentions how she makes she can make all kinds of cakes in the shape of animals. The only one she can't do was snakes because she didn't have the counter space. She was definitely one of those, hey, it's that lady actresses, and she was very funny.
Earl Hyman passed away on November 17th. He was 91. Earl was an actor and a musician for many, many, many years. He was best known as Bill Cosby's dad on The Cosby Show.
Yes. And also has a very important place in animation. He was the voice of Panthro on the original version of Thundercats, which is very awesome.
Actor Bill Robertson passed away on November 18th. He was 59. Character actor who is one of those, hey, it's that guy. When you see him in all those movies, he did Forrest Gump, Patch Adams, The Patriot, a bunch of other stuff. Malcolm Young passed away on the same day, November 18th. Young, one of the founders of AC/DC. He was 64 and had been suffering from dementia for a number of years. On November 19th, Warren Pete Moore passed away. Pete was was a member of the Miracles for nearly 50 years, writing their monster #1 hit Love Machine, also singing on stuff going way back to the days when Smokey Robinson was still a part of the band. He was 78. This day was just everybody. We lost a lot of people on that day. Della Reese passed away on November 19th. Della, best known to this generation as the associate angel on Touched by an Angel. But she also was in Chico and the Man, a number of other shows, was a known cabaret singer from the 50s and 60s. She was 86. Country singer Mel Tillis passed away on that same day. He was 85 years old. Mel made a name out of stuttering.
Yes.
And he didn't stutter when he sang, and he was sang beautifully, but when you talked to him, he couldn't get past that stutter. Probably best known for country shows like Hee Haw, also did a lot of movies in later years.
He was in Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in the second one, but
he was wicked funny in that. He was 85. And Peter Baldwin passed away. Peter was 86. He was an actor and a director, but he was best known for directing over the last few years. He directed countless episodes of The Partridge Family, The Wonder Years, Sanford and Son, Newhart, and many others, winning an Emmy for his work in 1989. And just because Kim has actually asked me, and I agree with her, a certain very well-known serial killer, mass murderer, passed away that day. And we're not going to bring up his name because we don't think he needs it. On the 21st of November, Buzz Belmondo passed away. I did not know he was 70 years old.
I don't think most people know who Buzz Belmondo is.
Buzz Belmondo was a regular on Baywatch. Everybody knows who he was. I knew him from Chip and Pepper's Cartoon Madness in 1991, but he was on Baywatch for years. He was on Out of This World. He was a really funny comedian and actor. Always played those slimy guy next door types, and was really good at it.
He was the person they got when they couldn't get the guy that played Joe Isuzu.
When David Leisure wasn't available, they called Buzz Belmondo. Sadly, to my generation, we lost one of our biggest teen idols this week. David Cassidy passed away at the age of 67. David had been suffering from dementia since earlier this year and died of organ failure. mean, David was a trendsetter. He was Keith Partridge in the Partridge Family. It overshadowed the rest of his career, unfortunately, but he was a brilliant musician and a terrific actor, and it's very sad. I mean, I'm interested to see what happens, because Bonaducci's radio show has been in repeats this last week on his Seattle radio station where he has his show.
Yeah.
And he hasn't commented on it yet, and I'm waiting to see what happens.
From a showbiz family, his father, of course, actor Jack Cassidy, his brother Sean Cassidy, his daughter Katie Cassidy, who is currently appearing on Arrow. It's a really sad thing.
It is, and I feel bad that his later stuff didn't get noticed. I mean, he went back to the #1 spot in England in 1984 with The Last Kiss.
And it's
not
also
the same song for Pearl Jam did.
It's also truly weird to think that he's a member of the DC TV universe. He appeared on the 90s version of The Flash
as Mirror Master,
as the villain of Mirror Master.
When his career was coming back, and he had actually released that new album that produced his only other top 40 hit in the later years, called "Lying to Myself." Which
it's really funny, because I remember seeing the opening credits, and I was like, David Cassidy? No, that can't be that David Cassidy. Oh, wow, it is that David Cassidy. Weird.
Wayne Cochran also passed away on that day. He was 78. That was, we're going back to the 21st, right? I'm sorry, I just lost the date. 21st of November. Wayne was the writer of Last Kiss, the song that Pearl Jam made a big hit a few years later, and also was a singer in his own right. On the 22nd, Mona Fong passed away. Mona was a long time associated with Shaw Brothers Films in Hong Kong, producing monster hits like the 36th Chamber of Shaolin and other things. She was 83. Jazz singer and songwriter Jon Hendricks passed away on the 22nd as well. He was 96. If you're a jazz fan, you know the name. He was a legend in jazz music. And Tommy Keene passed away at the age of 59. Keene was a singer and songwriter, best known for his work as a troubadour type singer in the late 60s through the early, not the 60s, the late 70s through the early 90s. And still very popular today. And finally, Rance Howard passed away on November 21st. Rance, actor in his own right, producer, but also best known as the father of Ron and Clint Howard, and the grandfather of Bryce Dallas Howard. He was 89, appeared in several of movies over the years, movies that his son directed, like Apollo 13. I believe he was also in Cocoon. Also appeared in stuff that Ron or friends produced, stuff like Ed Wood and Frost Nixon. He was 89. These people are all going to be remembered as we ask them to take their final bows, and thank them for all the work and joy they've brought to all their fans over the years. You know, I think that's going to do it for this week. We have a lot of other stuff going on that we didn't get to. This has been such a long... I think it's going to turn out to be a long show. I don't know. I can actually tell right now. But I have a feeling we're going to be over long, so I wanted to keep some of it for next week, and it'll be here. Next week, we will begin the countdown. It is T-minus 5 weeks to the Poppies and Rosies Awards as we approach the end of the year. And all through December, Subject Cinema will devote itself to the year in review. We will look at the past year in television, music, movies, passings, and everything else over the last few years, over the last few months. We will take a look, in-depth look, at some of the films that were big hits, some of them were blockbusters. And we will also have at least 1 week where we're going to try and catch up on some stuff we really need to see before we do our year-end awards. All that will culminate the final week of the month, where we will bring you our Just 'Cause We Can awards, our top 10 Baker's Dozen and Dynamite Dozen, and the Poppies and Rosies coming up on I believe is a Sunday. Is it Sunday this year? Or is that Sunday. New Year's Eve. So you'll definitely want to check those out. Also, don't forget to check out all of our other programs. So, in addition to Subject Cinema, you can hear right here on this channel, Front Row 5 and 10, on Thursday evenings, where we do all kinds of various ridiculous lists, and we hope that you'll check that out. On our other channel, you can find our 2 mini shows, 3 Minute Weekend and Tuesday Digidex, 3 Minute Weekend, running down each week's releases in film, and Tuesday Digidex. I've regretted calling that show that since we did it. Tuesday Digidex runs down the home video releases every Tuesday. Plus, we've got Platinum Rose's Garden with Kim.
Platinum Rose's Garden is my Supernatural show where I look at this past week's episode of Supernatural. This week, I will be looking at the episode War of the Worlds. We have 2 more episodes before the mid-season finale. Things have been going crazy this season on Supernatural. I think it's been really awesome, and I hope you guys will come and check it out over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com. And you can also check out TC's podcast, Catastrophe Vortex.
Yes. When it gets up. I'm still trying to get that. I've been trying to do it every 2 weeks, and the last couple of weeks we've had real problems with work schedules, and I haven't had time to do it. I will try to get it done this week, I promise. Don't desert me. It's at CatastropheVortex.com, and we'll have a lot more coming up. Plus, Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon at Cavebabble.com, and Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee, doing just blogs right now, but we'll be back with a new season of the show in January at ComicGrotto.com. We also, near the end of the month of next month, we'll be making a special announcement about a very special project coming exclusively to our YouTube channel in January. So you do not want to miss it. It's going to be explosively good, and we know that you will like what we're going to do. I also want to remind you, if you haven't done so already, please download the Subject Cinema app. You get access to all 4 Subject Cinema shows: Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, 3 Minute Weekend, and that tongue twister, Tuesday Digidex, all right at your phone. As soon as they're loaded, you get it about 4 hours before everybody else does, and we hope that you will check that out and download that app. And don't forget, when you're listening to Subject Cinema, please subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to like each one you're listening to, no matter which service you're listening to, and don't forget to share it. Please send it to a couple of your friends and let them know that the latest episode of Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, or whatever you're listening to, is up and running by sharing a link with them, and help us get the word out there. Anything else going on?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty, let's mosey on out of here as we move away from the food. I feel like I should do a big belch now.
No!
For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Ew, I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you in December.
I can't take you anywhere, honestly.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.